Well, good morning, everyone. On behalf of City Manager Rachel Tabelski, Fire Chief Dan Herberger, and our other local leaders here in Batavia, I'd like to welcome you to the City of Batavia Fire Department. My name is Captain Greg Ireland. I'm the program coordinator for the PAARI program here at the City Fire Department, which is known nationally as the Police Assisted Addiction and Recovery Initiative. In your program, you see locally, we refer to it now as the Public Safety Addiction Assisted Recovery and Initiative. So it's no secret that not just locally, but nationally, we have a drug addiction problem here in the United States. In more recent years, the opioid addiction problem. And programs of the past, Just Say No to Drugs, the War on Drugs, those programs have failed us. And we've been lucky enough, a lot of the local leaders here, to work with a PAARI pioneer named Chief Peter Volkman. And I don't want to steal his term, but he always said, we cannot arrest our way out of this problem. So what is PAARI? Basically, anybody who has a substance use disorder can come to any PAARI location, and now the City Fire Department, and surrender any drugs or paraphernalia they have without the risk of imprisonment, without the risk of being judged, and ask for help. And we're going to be here to help them. So, as always, firefighters, they're on the front lines. They're the first responders out there helping the community every day. And now having this PAARI location at the fire department, the very first fire department in New York State to be a part of this program, one of the few fire departments in the United States, now these firefighters were on the front line of battling addiction here in our own community. And it's a huge opportunity for this community. Again,
I got interested in PAARI back in 2015. I was online. I actually connected on Facebook with the Gloucester Fire Department and Chief Campanella, and was just reading some of the excerpts of his program, which they called the Angel Program. And for those of you who don't know how that began, and I don't hope I'm not stealing Allie's thunder, I'm just going to say a quick, he really just put it out. He was sick of seeing people overdose and die in his community, so he just said, hey, come to my police station, bring your paraphernalia, bring your drugs, we won't arrest you, we'll get you help. And it went viral on Facebook, and that's how this whole thing started. I saw that he was speaking in Binghamton, so I contacted Sheriff Meha and Chief Highbush, and I said, hey, do you guys want to go down and listen to Chief Campanella speak about this PAARI program? And they said, yeah, but then right at the end, they had to cancel, so I went down by myself, and I met some incredible people. One who eventually came up here and spoke. She had lost her son, and she came up and spoke at an event we had at GCC. She lost her son from opioid overdose. And she was the one who brought Chief Campanella to Binghamton. I went down and I was just blown away at how humble he was and the things that he was doing. And I was like, we've got to do this. We've got to do this in our community. And that was in 2015. There wasn't a lot of resources, financial resources to make it happen at the time. And then we eventually connected with Peter Volkman, and he came out and did a presentation. And eventually it kind of grew from a grassroots movement, and people got excited, law enforcement got excited, then eventually the fire department got excited, and between the health department and some of JACASA's grants, we were able to fund it. And so I'm just incredibly thankful that this community actually comes together the way it does. Behind the scenes, people in Genesee County and the services we work together, we get along, and we try to do what's best for people in our community. And I know Paul's going to give some data, but in 2016, Erie County had their overdose death rate was 31, I think, per 100,000, and in 2017, Genesee County was higher than that. So we had a significant problem in our community, and we've really, I think, have made a difference coming together.
I want to take a quick moment out to thank all those participants and those that are active in this program right now in Genesee County. The program is working. This is our first opportunity to formally launch this publicly, and we are very excited to do that. But before I go further, I also wanted to thank the task force. Our Go County Task Force, our Genesee, Orleans, and Wyoming, this is truly a reflection of the great work that has been done over the last many years now. As John had articulated, we had seen the impact that opioids was having in Genesee County, in Orleans County, in Wyoming County, and we realized at that time we needed to take intentional acts, put a focus on working towards addressing this public health crisis. And the formation of the task force spun out of that. And, just the work that has been done, the many folks, hundreds of folks that come together to address this issue in our community is really remarkable. And as John mentioned, I am going to share some data, a little bit about the work that the task force has done. But ultimately, it is a lot of great work, a lot of time and effort, and for a meaningful and worthy cause. So I'd like to thank all those folks that participate and put their time and effort into addressing this public health issue. So again, the PAARI program, as articulated, really aims to prevent overdose deaths, expand access to treatment, and increase the trust between public safety agencies and our communities. As mentioned, this was originally started as police-focused, and we expanded that. We felt that there's other opportunities in the community, and getting the fire department on board and another access point that folks could come and drop off and provide that initial entryway into treatment was very important, and we're very excited to be able to launch this formally today. As mentioned, we planned on doing this over a year ago now. We had the similar lineup set up and folks ready to talk and to formally launch this in the community, but we were sidetracked, right? COVID delayed things a little bit for a year and put a lot of things on pause, and unfortunately, our ability to gather and to be able to do what we're doing today was sidelined. But we're here now, and we're very excited to be here and to formally launch this program. Unfortunately, though, the crisis hasn't slowed down like COVID did. We continue to see overdoses. We continue to see hospital utilization, ED visits due to opioids in our community. Specifically over the last year, we've seen increases after many years of decreases. And again, I'll share that data in a moment. But the opioid epidemic is an urgent and serious public health and public safety issue. Continues to be the leading cause of unintentional accidental deaths in the United States, and we continue to see that here locally in Genesee County. Even recently in Monroe County, we've seen some public health issues or statements put out around an advisory around xylazine, a horse tranquilizer that was found to be cut into heroin, fentanyl, cocaine, causing many overdoses in Monroe County recently. Although that's a Monroe County announcement, again, we're regional, we're connected. We do have proof from some of our overdose deaths that xylazine was found post-mortem in some of our overdoses last year. So again, we are connected. These issues that we're seeing in Monroe, in Erie County, the bigger areas, we are a bedroom community. We're transient here. So it is something that we all need to continue to pay attention to. A little bit on the data. Again, I wanted to provide just to show some of the great work that the task force have been doing over the last several years. If you look back to 2017, as far as overdose deaths, we had 21 in Genesee County, and that's 36.2 per 100,000. Again, as John articulated, we are right up there with Erie County and other counties across the entire country with our per 100,000 death rate. Significant public health issue in our community. 2018, we saw that number trending down to 15, or 21.5% per 100,000. 2019, down to 10. Look at the trend line. We're doing good. A lot of good work. A lot of public awareness, education, resources, services being put into place. Then we jump into the year of COVID 2020. Unfortunately, that number, 2019 down to 10. Again, 17.5. And then 2020, we jump back up to 15, or 21.1 per 100,000. So again, we took our eye off the ball a little bit, responding to the other public health crisis with COVID. And unfortunately, we did see a reverse in the trend, but hopefully that's a snapshot. We're going to get back on the ball here and see that continue downwards. The other indicator that we really watch is emergency room visits. And again, going back to 2017, we had 93 visits related to drug overdoses in Genesee County. 2018, 38. 2019, 23. Again, great trend line. 2020, unfortunately, 58. Again, bump back up. So if anything, this data is twofold, right? It shows the great work that is being done in Genesee County to address this issue in the way we are trending, it also clearly shows the impact that COVID had and what happens when we lose our focus and when we need to put these important public health issues back in the forefront and make sure that we keep it there and keep pushing and keep driving so that we can ultimately keep that trend going down and protect those residents here in Genesee County. It's also very telling in why we need programs like PAARI. We need to have the resources, we need to have the services available for folks to be able to access treatment. And this is another way and another approach that people can take advantage of in order to get into that treatment. A little bit about how the health department became involved in the PAARI program. And John, you went a couple minutes, so I'm taking your minutes if that's all right. All right, thanks. So back in 2018, we obviously were working on this public health crisis. We had the task force up and running at that point. We had great partnerships with our funders. And New York State Department of Health came out with a grant basically targeted towards those counties in the state that had the highest per 100,000 overdose death rate. Again, unfortunately, Genesee County was one of those, so we did receive a significant amount of funding through the health department to work on this opioid crisis. And at that time, obviously, we were meeting as a task force, and as John mentioned, we had a presentation on the PAARI program. This is something that we had been discussing going back a couple years prior to that. And ultimately, timing is everything. We can have a lot of ideas, but the timing and actually the money is the key. We have to have that money and that support and funding to be able to implement these programs. So timing, we learned about the PAARI program. We said, hey, this is something that we want to see here in Genesee County. Law enforcement, the fire department, we were all on board. Well, let's move ahead and look at this as an opportunity here to, again, provide services to our residents. So bottom line, we got to work. We had the funding. We decided we wanted to move forward with that. And we started to implement the program. Now, here comes in another funder, the Greater Rochester Health Foundation, and this really plays into the expansion of the program here into the fire department. Obviously, we had our law enforcement agencies in the county on board and receiving folks, welcoming folks that wanted to come experience the services through law enforcement. But to get to the fire department, we needed some funding. The building wasn't suitable towards being a PAARI location. Again, looked for funding to do this, and Greater Rochester Health Foundation, and they're here today. I know they'll speak in a few minutes. They were essential. They were critical for us to be able to launch like this program here at this facility. They provided funding that did not have strings attached, did not have restrictions in place that are often in line with state funds and federal funds. And being able to do the remodeling in the main room over there, the front office, was needed in order to be able to launch this program. So thank you to the Greater Rochester Health Foundation allowing us to make the modifications to the building and able to launch this program safely and successfully at this location. A little bit about PAARI stats to date, just real quick. Since the program began, we've had 21 calls to the PAARI program. We've had 11 peers that have been deployed to help with the PAARI assistance with those seeking treatment. 8 participants initiated treatment due to PAARI. 6 participants re-engaged or continued due to their participation in the PAARI program. And 10 participants who had not been receiving any type of peer services began after engaging with PAARI in Genesee County. So why is this important? Why are we here today? Ultimately, it's about saving lives. It's about helping the residents of Genesee County. We are very pleased that this is the first site that we know of as far as the fire department access point in New York State. We would like to be on the forefront in offering and thinking creatively at ways we can engage the community. But ultimately, it shows how supportive the community is and how closely our community works together. If you look at law enforcement and first responders and the police, it shows that we are working together towards addressing this crisis. So along with law enforcement, firefighters are on the front lines of the opioid epidemic, and they're in a unique position to help and to respond to this crisis and help people take their first steps towards recovery and treatment. This site offers just that. We're very excited to be here today to formally launch this site, and we're looking forward to this being an ongoing access point for those seeking treatment, seeking their road to recovery. We're very excited about that. We have a lot of work to do. This is just the beginning. Again, we need to keep intentional focus on this issue And I know through the health department, we're going to continue to support this effort and continue to be a driver behind all these different efforts in partnerships with JACASA and our first responders. And I look forward to continuing this meaningful work with all of our partners.
I'd like to start by saying thank you to everyone involved in getting the PAARI program up and running here in Genesee County. It's a great resource for those who suffer from substance abuse disorder here in our community to assist them in getting the help that they may need. It also provides another tool for officers in an attempt to positively impact somebody's life and possibly avoid an arrest when the arrest would not resolve the root cause of the problem. Partnership with JACASA and other public safety agencies in Genesee County allows us all to be on the same page when it comes to getting somebody the assistance they need quickly and efficiently. I'm excited to have the City of Batavia Fire Department be a part of this program. I feel the fire department will be a great location for those who may be apprehensive or hesitant to come to a police station to seek assistance. The fire department is viewed as a welcoming and helpful arm of the emergency services team and can be less intimidating to some members of the public. I've always enjoyed the great working relationship the city fire and police have had, and I look forward to continuing to grow that relationship in the future. Thank you.
So when we say, right, that the proof is in the pudding, right? The proof is in the pudding. Well, I'm that proof right here. If you guys are all thinking, oh, this doesn't work, this is going to work, right? It took me from October 5th of 2017 lying on the floor in a puddle of my own urine and my own vomit because I was just that sick at the time and too afraid to live, but too afraid to die. And I just threw in that towel. I was done. God made me an alcoholic and a substance use disorder, and that's what I'm going to be. I'm the best at it that I can be, right? But there was a couple people there in that room with me. First of all, there was God, who picked up that towel and he threw it back at me and he said, get up. Then there was this wonderful paramedic that put his hand down and said, I know you can get up, Melissa, get up. We're going to help you. And they helped me. And they took me to detox and they took to every place that I could possibly need to get clean and sober. They loved me when I could not love myself. The JACASA program here at Atwater is not where I started my journey. I started at Stutzman in Buffalo and then came to Batavia. Met these wonderful ladies right here sitting in front of me, and they cheer me on every day. And when I get cheered on, I can cheer on somebody else every day. I moved, again, like I said, I got out of my sober living, moved into my own apartment, finally became a peer, and my first apartment was on State Street here in Batavia. And if anybody knows State Street here in Batavia, it can be, there's a lot of stuff going on, if you get what I mean. Why in the world would they put a recovering alcoholic on State Street and somebody who used to, partake in drugs? Why? Why in the world, God, why? I'd asked everybody, why? That's just the place that came up for me, right? And I remember I moved in there in February, and it was about June. And the police are on my street every day. It's the Jerry Springer Live on my street, right? So, but where my apartment is, I can either soak it all up or I can kind of hide back. So I hide back, and it was probably sometime in June, probably about 9:30, I get this knock on my door. Hey lady, you're the girl in recovery, right? You're the girl in recovery. I said, yes, I am. We need Narcan right now. Can you help us? My boyfriend is next door and he's overdosing. So I grabbed my Narcan that JACASA and the peer program trained me into to do, and I took that out of my home, and I went next door and I Narcaned this person that I had never met before. And right after that, the police came, and they Narcaned him again. And he came back. I don't know where he is now, but he was treated with kindness and respect. Because I remember what it felt like to be lonely and alone and terrified of what my life was going to be. And through this work, I didn't have to do it alone, right? We can't do it alone. We need each other. We need each other. And I've been blessed. I also have another story that just happened recently. We had a person that was outside of the Jerome Center, and she was not doing well. She suffers from substance use disorder. We'll call her Marcy, right? The hospital called the on-call phone that we carry with us 24/7. Someone's going to answer that phone, and we're going to help you, right? We don't know how or what that looks like, but we're just going to jump in with 2 feet, and we're going to do it. So the hospital calls our peer line. So myself and another one of my peers deploy out, and the police had already gotten there, and the fire department, and the respect that they showed that person blew my mind, right? Because we have those stereotypes that we have. We're dirty and we're yucky, and you don't want to hang out with those people. They have that dreaded, they're a drug addict and they're a junkie. Well, we're not. We're people. We're people that are caught up in something that has us right by the throat. And we need people like our fire department, our police department, our paramedics to reach that hand out to another person. And now that I have been so blessed, I like I said, I'm in long-term recovery. Now, my people that have taught me how to be strong and how to live. Now when somebody calls out or reaches out and says, I need help, my hand can be there. Just like the hand was there for me. I also have another little tidbit. We were also on that all-call phone. I was called here to the hospital. Another peer and I deployed for a patient who was in the emergency room. And she was, again, not doing well. We chatted with her. Recovery was offered to her. Peering was offered to her. And she grabbed on and she took it. And as far as I know, it's been about 3 weeks, and she tells me she hasn't had a drink since that day. Right? So what do we do? What do the peers do? We are, like I said on this little card, we are their allies. We are their motivators. We share little blips of our experience, strength, and hope, and we cheer them on. And we relish their successes, and we just support them wherever they are, whatever they need, right where they're at. Not if they're way up here, way down. We meet them, I should say, where we want them to be. We meet them right where they're at. And I'm going to help you today if you want it. We're role models. I do have to say, right now, I am absolutely, this is beyond my wildest dreams that I am up here speaking to you, because I remember laying in that puddle thinking I'll never do anything worthwhile again. It works, and we have supporters now that will just make people feel like human beings.
Like many of you, I'm called to this work because it hits really close to home for me. I've seen a loved one struggle with opioid use disorder, so I know on a deeply personal level that this work is really significant. And I'm just really grateful to all of you for launching this program today and for the programs that have been in place for the last couple years. PAARI started about 6 years ago in a small fishing town, Gloucester, Massachusetts. There was a series of overdose deaths, and Gloucester is a town, I think, kind of like this one probably, where everyone kind of knows each other. So when there's a fatal overdose, it really, who that person is, who their family is, you went to school together. And so the the police chief at the time and the mayor and some other community stakeholders, they wanted to do more. They felt like there was more they could do to prevent people from overdosing. So they came up with this pretty simple idea. You know, the police station, it's a spot in the community that's open 24/7. Let's just let people walk in. No arrest, no jail, no shame, no blame. And immediately we're going to connect them to treatment. They didn't quite know what that meant at the time, but they figured it out, formed partnerships, and this idea really struck a spark with other police departments across the country. And immediately other departments started reaching out and, you know, trying to learn about how they could bring that to their community. And so PAARI was created and founded to help other police departments kind of replicate or do something inspired by the Gloucester Police Department, where they're approaching addiction as a disease, not a crime, and really creating these pathways to treatment that did not exist before. And so now we're a network of about 650 police departments and public safety agencies across the country. We've got a couple in Canada, and there's that kind of collective recognition that we can't arrest our way out of this. And, you know, there is a time and place for law enforcement, but public safety, public health partnerships are really going to be the thing that improves community health and well-being, reduces crime, and has a lot of really positive impacts for the individuals affected by addiction as well as the communities. So what we do, we provide training, technical assistance, and other capacity building resources to help departments to design and launch these programs, to add to what they're already doing or start something from scratch, to learn from each other, connect with each other. And we're trying to innovate and change the way public safety responds to the overdose epidemic and give people struggling with addiction the care that they need and deserve. So any public safety agency can take advantage of these, and it's completely free. So like I said, I got into this work because of my firsthand experience. My little sister, Nicole, she had a several-year struggle with addiction. She was arrested multiple times. She overdosed over a dozen times. It was a really tough period for her, for my family. And, you know, even when she was ready for help, there were so many barriers. Lack of the right insurance or lack of transportation or no beds available and stigma. And so it was years before she was able to connect to the services that she needed. And each one of those missed opportunities where there was a window of opportunity and then the window closed were just heartbreaking. And I can only imagine if 8 years ago she could have walked into a police department and that was what it looked like. So you know, I'm just really grateful that these programs exist and feel really lucky that I get to help start them. Because, you know, if it weren't for those officers that kept Narcaning her and didn't give up on her, she wouldn't be here. But the reality is that 89% of people don't get the treatment that they need. So hardly anyone gets the treatment that they need. And in the 12-month period that ended in November 2020, there were 92,000 fatal overdoses across the country, which is the highest ever in recorded history. That's a 27% increase over the previous year. Over 250 people every single day. And for every fatal overdose, there's several non-fatal overdoses, as many 9 or 10 non-fatal overdoses. So if it weren't for Narcan, again, this would be 1 million people we're talking about. And to kind of put it in perspective, 92,000 people, that's more than a sold-out game at Highmark Stadium every single year. And we have to remind ourselves, because the stats are so high, you can kind of forget that these are people. Everyone is a person. Everyone is, you know, someone's sister or mother or daughter or friend. And it's been a tough year in particular. I think a lot of you know, this has really been exacerbated by COVID-19, as we heard about earlier as well. Overdoses are on the rise, relapses on the rise. Treatment looks different. It's harder. People who rely on meetings and other things, it's been really hard. So that's why this type of program is more important than ever, and you guys being here today is more important than ever, because public safety officers, they have this front row seat. You're going to overdose calls, you're interacting with the population, you're making drug-related arrests every single day. And I think, you know, you guys are problem solvers, and you want to have the right tool for the right job. Most people got into this line of work because they want to help people, and this type of program offers a real, tangible, meaningful way to help people. So now with the PAARI program, public safety agencies, you're putting people on a path to treatment and recovery as a non-arrest alternative. And it's more effective, it's more compassionate, it's just all around really a positive thing. So this is a big day, it really is. So literally anyone could walk into the station 24 hours a day without fear of arrest and be connected to one of the peers at Jacasa and get on the path to treatment and recovery on their terms in a self-directed way with no shame, no blame, no stigma when they have that window of opportunity, which is so important. And as we heard, this is the first fire department in the entire state that's doing this. So it really is important, and you guys should give yourselves a round of applause. So to me, there's no question. This program is going to save lives. It's also going to improve public safety and reduce crime. It's going to reduce addiction-related calls for service. It'll divert people away from the emergency room and the criminal justice system. It'll improve collaboration, which we've already seen. There's not a lot of topics where you have public health, public safety, first responders, people in the recovery community, all working hand in hand with a shared purpose. That doesn't happen, but that's happening now because of this program. And that ultimately is going to increase trust between law enforcement and communities. It's going to improve officer satisfaction. We've had a lot of people say that this program is kind of the most rewarding part of their job, and they get to truly help people, and that feels good in a way that they, is why, again, they became a police officer. And we've also seen that these programs cause a shift in beliefs about people that are struggling with addiction. There's still a lot of stigma out there, and that prevents people from seeking help or getting the care that they need and deserve. So the more that we can all be on the same page and share the language of addiction is a disease, not a crime, that's going to go a long way in improving people's lives and getting people the help they need without fear. And I know that this is just the beginning. Even, yesterday we had a great meeting. I got to see a lot of what the police and fire department are working on and the sheriff's department is working on. And I know that this is going to generate more ideas and lead to more and more referrals, more collaboration. And I truly believe this is also going to inspire other police departments, other fire departments, other public safety agencies across the state and country to do something just like this. So, going back to my sister, Nicole, in spite of all the challenges, she really is a success story as well. She's been in recovery nearly 8 years, and she's actually a peer recovery coach at a treatment center in Massachusetts. So it's both an example of recovery is possible, never give up on people, and the easier we can make it for individuals and families, we're all part of this together. So I guess I want to end by saying, if you or someone is struggling with addiction, you are not alone. I've been there, and I know how difficult it is, how isolating it can feel, and you're not sure where to turn. But now, please know that you can walk into the doors right here or at the police department or the sheriff's department, and you won't have to face it alone. So thank you.